So occasionally, I always find like different books that I truly do love and care so much for. And when it comes to Uncanny X-Men issue number 325, I really do like this book a lot. Now, the art is not the greatest, but it's not the worst. But the reason why I like it so much is because it shows how dangerous Storm can be. Now, technically, we already seen so many times how dangerous Storm can be, but it kind of shows that Storm does not need her powers to be dangerous, that she is great when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. And guys, the ending of the storyline is beautiful. Now, we're also getting into the idea of Gene Nation finally attacking the X-Men, finally making their moves against the human race. Now, to kind of save time on me explaining what Gene Nation truly is, I kind of want to save that for the later parts of this video. And the reason why, because there's going to be a certain character going to be used as a way to explain things to us when it comes to Gene Nation. And so as we dive into the opening pages of this one singular issue, we're seeing the X-Men just playing baseball. If you know your X-Men comics, you already know they love the idea of relaxing by playing baseball. Now, sometimes it's just chilling at the pool or other kinds of activities, but a lot of times it comes down to baseball. And it's kind of cool because it's not just the X-Men. You also have Generation X there as well. So it's kind of cool to see these two teams coming together to play baseball. Really, by the end of this section, things go south very quickly because you have the different characters begin to use their abilities in the middle of the game. And one of the rules is you cannot use your powers when it comes to baseball. But unfortunately, it ends up as a mess, as it always does. But right after the baseball game had ended, you did have Wolverine realize that they're about to have some company. And that company is Callisto and also Colossus as they come through a portal. Now, let's not forget, for Colossus, by this point in the Marvel timeline, he had left the X-Men and he had joined Magneto's side. Now, in a previous storyline, Avalon, the space base that Magneto had built, was completely destroyed. And so for Colossus, he took an escape pod to go back down to Earth with Magneto. The problem is that when he woke up, he was found by Callisto, but Magneto was missing. But for Callisto, she needs his help. She needs the X-Men help when it comes to Gene Nation. Now, also, I want to remind you guys that Callisto and Colossus, they do somewhat have feelings for one another. It's very small, but we did see in the past these two characters being able to build a bond with one another. But while you have all that happening, back in the city, New York City, on a subway train, you have the power go out. And this kind of shows us that, hey, Gene Nation is now beginning to make their moves against the humans, against the X-Men. It all starts here. Here comes the big battle between the X-Men and the Gene Nation group. Now, with Callisto waking up, we can use her as a way to learn the actual origin of Gene Nation as she tells the X-Men the origin as well. Because we learn here that, well, you know what? This is a callback really to an earlier storyline, because in an earlier storyline, you had Mikhail, the older brother of Colossus, kind of go crazy and kill off the Morlocks. Or technically, we were left to believe that. Come to find out, that's not the case at all. What Mikhail did was he had opened up a portal to a different dimension. And so for the Morlocks who were in the tunnels with him at that time, they went into a different dimension. Now, apparently to Callisto here, Mikhail was unable to make it over to this other dimension, but the Morlocks did. And the Morlocks were able to build a life for themselves until the second generation came in. They were very upset about the idea that the Morlocks had to leave their old home to be able to make a home somewhere else for themselves. They wanted to go back to Earth and get revenge against the people who had basically force them out. And of course, they're going after the humans. But at the same time, they're doing this on a very special night, the anniversary of the Mutant Massacre. That was the first event we ever covered. The whole idea of the Marauders going into the tunnels of the Morlocks and just killing off Morlocks left and right. And so what they're going to do right now, G Nation, is to kidnap a bunch of humans as a way to kill them on the anniversary of when they had to see a massacre happen in their tunnels. It's them believing they're doing the right thing. But now we got to put a pause on that and jump over to Gambit. And here's the reason why, because for Gambit, this section alone is going to lead into another storyline we're going to cover in a different video. But for Gambit, he had kissed Rogue. Now, the only reason why he kissed Rogue, because back in Legion Quest, you had our heroes believe the world was going to end. And so for Rogue and Gambit, they say, you know what? If the entire universe is going to die, then let's go ahead and kiss for the first and last time. And they did. Now, the universe did not die technically, thanks to Bishop, but with that kiss, it put him in a coma. But it allowed Rogue to go into his mind, to see things. And so what she saw scared her and made her run away. Now, you had Bobby go with her, but they've been on a road trip ever since. And so you have Rogue call to the school and Gambit answers. Now for Gambit, his goal is to find Rogue, to have a conversation with her because he knows that she knows something dark about him. But for Rogue, she does not want to talk to him at all. And she hangs the phone up. And so while you have Gambit trying to deal with that, you have the rest of the X-Men trying to deal with the whole Callisto and G Nation thing. And we do learn here that for Callisto, she had taken some of the X-Men with her into the tunnels of the Morlocks. They had just teleported over there. But you have another group using the Blackbird to catch up. Now for Archangel, he was there that night or the day of the Mutant Massacre. And let's not forget, it was the same event where he lost his wings and, of course, began the process of him becoming Archangel. And so the whole idea of going back into the tunnels on the same night he lost his wings is getting to him. It's messing with his mind. And then for a brief moment, we see Sinister getting involved in the storyline for like one page, where he's being informed that two Blackbirds had just left Charles Xavier School. One of them, of course, heading over to Manhattan. The other one is heading over to Seattle. That second one is Gambit. And again, it leads into another storyline. Now we do learn who's on Callisto's team. You have Storm, Colossus, and also Wolverine. But as they're walking around, you have Callisto bring up the fact that she believes that Storm failed as a leader. And here's the reason why, because there was an earlier storyline where you had Storm and Callisto fight against one another. Now in that battle, Storm won. But the thing was, Storm was not going to stay down there with the Morlocks. And she asked Callisto to take her place as leader while she is gone. So technically Storm is still leader, but Callisto, I can't believe I just said Callisto. But Callisto, she was the one left in charge of the Morlocks. But it's her saying like, hey Storm, if you were down here and took your role more seriously, then most likely none of this would have happened. But Colossus saying there's no point in blaming Storm for what happened because we have no idea what could have happened if Storm did stay down here with the Morlocks. There could have been a better outcome or an even worse outcome. And so for Callisto, she kind of realized what Colossus is saying. There's no point in blaming Storm for what's happening right now because there are so many other factors in play at the moment. But while you have our heroes walking around, they don't realize that they're being watched by G Nation. Now, when it comes to G Nation, they're being led by a character known as Marrow. Now, when it comes to Marrow, we met her a long time ago as a young girl. As a matter of fact, you had Cable helped her out, but then she had disappeared because she went into that other dimension and stayed there for 20 years, but came out. But either way, she is the leader of G Nation, this second generation of Morlocks who are trying to get revenge. But while you have our heroes continue continuing to walk around, you didn't have our heroes be attacked by the different members of Gene Nation. Now, for our heroes, they fought against the different members of Gene Nation in the past. They feel like they know how to handle them. But you have Callisto say, nah. When you fought them in the past, they were holding back to learn more about you. And now because they know more about you, they'll go ahead and go all out against you guys. And so now it's an actual challenge for our heroes. Now, for Callisto, she also realized what they're trying to do. Split the team up to make it easier to take down the different members of this team. And so you have Storm and Callisto agree to stay together. Now, for Callisto and Storm, they do see a crowd of people just running out of one of the tunnels of the Morlocks, but you have Callisto stop the last one to ask him what in the world is going on. And you had this guy say like, hey, listen, I have no idea what's going on, but they had just released us. Matter of fact, it's the girl with bones. And of course, he's talking about Marrow. But you didn't have that same guy pull a gun out and shoot Callisto because this guy was being controlled by Sack. And we had talked about Sack before. He has the ability to take over your body. Once he does, you're dead, but he can still use your body however he wants to. And so he was able to use this person's body to shoot Callisto and now has a gun pointed to Storm's head. And it kind of seems like Storm is going to die. And Storm knows Sack very well, but you have Storm being able to use her abilities to protect herself. Now for Callisto, it still kind of shows that Storm is weak because she did not kill off Sack. But you didn't have our heroes be confronted by Marrow. Now, when it comes to Marrow, she's here to battle against Storm because she blames Storm for being a bad leader. Because for Gene Nation, it's the whole idea of, hey, we lost our home because of the massacre. We lost our home again because some guy named Mikkel pushed us into a different reality. But in both times, you know, we were missing a great leader because Storm was never around to truly protect us, to truly lead us. And so for her, she looks at Storm as a failure. She looks at Callisto as a failure because Callisto was Storm's replacement when Storm was away from the Morlocks. Now for Storm, she's kind of like, listen, I offer you guys a home with the X-Men. You guys turned down that offer. But for Marrow here, it's kind of like, what's your point? You wanted us to leave our home to go up there to live in the world with them? Basically talking about the humans, the group of people who hate mutants left and right and have been trying to kill off mutants left and right. Now we also learn here that for Marrow, she still has some prisoners, and those prisoners, they have bombs attached to their bodies. Here comes the big catch. You see, on her heart is the detonator. And so as her heartbeat goes closer and closer, those bombs are going to go off, killing those people. And so if Storm wants to save those people, she has to kill off Marrow to stop her heart from beating. And so now we're getting into the idea of seeing Storm and also Marrow have a knife fight. And this is why I say you should never challenge Storm. You should never mess with Storm. Because the thing is, when it comes to people in the comic book world, they believe that Storm is weak. Why? Because Storm is a hero. Storm is an X-Men. She's not going to kill anybody, is what they believe. But if Storm has no choice, if you push her into that corner, what's going to happen? You're going to have Storm do the exact opposite in what you believe she's going to do. And so you have Storm show Marrow like, no, you push me into a corner. I have to kill you as a way to save those people's lives. And technically you have Marrow try her best to cheat. And you have the X-Men also wanting to cheat to help out Storm. But Storm said, no. We're going to do this right. I'm going to show her I don't need to cheat. I'm going to show her why I won the right to be leader of the Morlocks. And so you have Storm being able to just kill off Marrow. Just like that. Her heartbeat stops and the bomb stops as well. The day is technically saved. And so with the day technically being saved now, you didn't have Callisto be the one to help the X-Men capture the rest of Gene Nation, and they're gonna go to some kind, I guess, special prison that she has for them. Now, before she does leave, she does kiss Colossus goodbye. And when she does, it's kind of like that small hope of the possibility of these two characters getting together, because for Kitty Pryde over in Excalibur, she moved on to somebody different. Now, with all that being said, you also have Colossus saying, hey, listen, there's no way I'm still going to stay with the X-Men. Like, I still believe being an X-Men is wrong for me. And so you have Colossus leave just like that. Now, for Storm, she hates the idea that she killed off somebody who did not have a chance to live a life because she was so young. But the thing is, for Logan, he's telling her, you had no choice, because honestly, we're trying to make the world a better place. And sometimes when doing that, you have to cross the line, because this world is so cruel. It turns humans and mutants into monsters. And unfortunately, we as the X-Men have to handle those monsters the best we can. And so it's him saying, like, you had no choice. You had to kill her, Storm. And the book kind of ends on that note right there. So with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.